Hi, I'm Lori Keller, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about the role of the Project Management Office in your cybersecurity projects. I'm bringing to the table 2 decades of experience with project management and 1 decade with security project management in particular. We've implemented projects in the areas of finance, insurance, higher education, medical, retail, and government, and I'm very excited to share the insights on the benefits of leveraging a project management office for cybersecurity initiatives. Let's start out by acknowledging that cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue, but it's a company-wide imperative. It really requires a company to have robust, scalable, and well-executed measures in order to bring projects through planning to successful execution. The Project Management Office can act as a central governance body overseeing a whole portfolio of projects. Scope, requirements, and regular reporting from the PMO ensures that the project team's work aligns with your business objectives and your project imperatives. The policies and the procedures give the team a framework for coping with resource and schedule constraints and aligning the team with compliance requirements like PCI, HIPAA, NIST, and ISO. Integrating a project management office framework into cybersecurity initiatives enables the team to consistently deliver project work, cope with change, reduce risk, and achieve your project goals. So let's go into a little bit of detail and talk about some of the ways a project management office and a project manager can bring value to your cybersecurity projects. Improved planning and organization is key. It's valuable for the team to know what the requirements are, which ones are the top priority, and how the requirements for any particular project stacks up against all the other projects that they've got, as well as their business as usual operations work, so that your project work can be seamlessly integrated into everybody's day. Having a good project plan also allows leadership to reprioritize goals and outcomes if the underlying business needs happen to change. With task and schedule efficiency, this is more than just a list of who is doing what tasks. In addition to that, it's a communication plan of handoffs from one task group to another, so the infrastructure knows that their work begins as soon as the data center work is complete, for example, and that if the data center work is going to take a week, infrastructure has a week to prepare for their execution. It allows everybody to be mindful of when their work is coming up and when they can expect to have to start their work. Building a plan for execution allows you to identify the chain of tasks that takes the longest in your project plan. The longest pole in your tent that's going to take the longest to execute is called your critical path. Frequently, you've got multiple work streams all happening at once, but that critical path is the set of tasks that's going to take the longest to execute. And it's critical to identify those so that you can stay on schedule and deliver your project on time. Scope creep, prevention, and change. As the team is implementing your project, it's very easy to say, especially with security, well, now that we've looked at this, it seems like it also is necessary to do this other thing. It can be really hard to draw the line on where your security effort stops, because everything can impact something else, and it can seem important to do everything at once. It brings to mind the children's book of If You Give a Moose a Muffin. And if you've read that book to your kids, you know what happens when you give a moose a muffin and then you have to give a mouse a cookie, and it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. And you end up with scope creep. Your team loses sight of your original goals. Your ROI for your project could take a hit, and it's definitely going to hit your schedule and your budget. When you're considering a new chunk of work, having your requirements from our previous task allows you to align with your original requirements. It allows you to ask a question about, does this align with our project schedule? Does this align with our original cost and labor estimates? Do we need to follow a change control process to add this to our project or not? And then you document all of this so at the end of the project, there's no question about the thought process that both leadership and the project teams went through to allow scope creep to happen. That brings us into documentation. Nobody likes to do documentation. It's the last thing anybody wants to do, but it's absolutely critical. Documentation keeps your team on track. It says, what are we doing now? What are we doing next? Having good documentation gives you something to go back to and say, what are the difficulties that the team encountered and how did they deal with it? How is the project keeping track of its cost and its resource estimates? And how is it aligning with the business needs and priorities? A huge benefit of using the PMO in cybersecurity projects is that at the end of the day, there's always really solid documentation to say who did what and how those end results were achieved. This makes the project team successful, and it makes the team's success more easily reproducible. Having a good project manager ensures that even if it's the last thing that gets done, good documentation gets done with the same attention to detail and quality as every other step in your project. Under risk management, it's critical to identify the things that your project is going to be vulnerable to. You could be vulnerable to schedule change or budget overruns, or maybe just the details of the security work that you're doing are so tricky that you run into risks of negatively impacting your business. It's very important to recognize that risks and issues happen with every cybersecurity project. By identifying proactively where the team believes they may have difficulties, and by deciding in advance what the team will do if the difficulty happens, that removes the team from being a victim of the circumstances and puts them solidly in the driver's seat. It allows the team to navigate around the difficulties or even avoid them completely. This also increases trust with your leadership that if the team does report a problem that's happened, nobody's getting raised blood pressure because the team has already clearly thought about what are they going to do if this thing has happened, and that they're already navigating around to bring this project around to a successful execution. And dovetailing with that risk management and communication is cross-functional team collaboration. It's often the case that siloed teams have to come together to implement a project, and communication between these cross-functional teams can sometimes be very difficult. By having a good detailed project plan, the project manager can facilitate critical and timely communication between these groups as project tasks need to be handed off and information needs to be given up to leadership. This good cross-functional team communication streamlines delivery, and it keeps your schedule on track, and it keeps the work and team communication flowing smoothly. If we move on to budget control, budget control allows us to track adherence to our original estimates. It communicates deviations to leadership. It avoids cost overruns and improves the project ROI. By tracking the budget and the resource use, project manager allows leadership to make critical high-level decisions. How well did our original estimates match our final outcome? How good we are estimating? Do we need to improve our estimates so that our costs come more under control? At junctions where we experienced a cost overrun, what was the root cause? This allows us to identify maybe a process or a thing that needs to be improved so that all projects in your enterprise can benefit from that improvement and have an optimal ROI. Your project management office also helps you to manage adherence to industry frameworks and compliance. Industry frameworks have strict requirements for often not only the end product of a cybersecurity project that's being put into place, but also for how that project is executed and how that product is put into place. Access to data must be securely managed, among other compliance concerns. By having a project management office and project manager aligning the team with those framework requirements, you can ensure that the end goal of a project and all the steps leading to that goal align with the relevant goals that the business must adhere to either acquire or maintain your industry framework compliances. One of the last things that a project manager and a project management office brings to your cybersecurity initiatives is measurable outcomes. The project's end product and the end of that delivery have measurable outcomes that prove your security hardening, that prove the attainment of your original project goals, that prove your adherence to budget. Achieving the project goals, advancing the corporate roadmap, achieving the project ROI, this is all measurable stuff that teams can take credit for internally and can show their leadership the success of their execution. Keep in mind that good project management is more than just having a project plan in place and somebody to take notes during meetings. From requirements at the very beginning of the project to careful planned execution, control of change, and the ROI analysis at the end, the PMO is a critical component of all successful cybersecurity projects. It streamlines your delivery, It reduces or removes your risk, and it ensures consistent delivery of all of your project initiatives. The slide shows some statistics that projects that undergo management by a project manager or PMO initiatives are much more likely to be successful and to achieve their original project goals and reduce the amount of wasted resources and budget. Thank you for your attention, and my information is available on the last slide. You're welcome to reach out to me, and we can have a chat about project management and the PMO and what Access Point can do to bring success to your cybersecurity initiatives.